So this video is about my wind generator, which is a 4 Winds Red Baron. It came with my boat, and when I got my boat about 10 years ago, this thing was just mounted on it, and at the time I didn't really know what it was, and I did some research and I found out this the company doesn't build those things anymore. Maybe they only built this one for marine purposes or whatever. Well, this thing is a little bit more unique than others. Most wind generators, from what I understand, they simply have a AC generator. So there's 3 wires coming out, and it has to be put into a AC/DC converter, rectifier, whatever. Well, the 4 Winds that I have has actually the rectifier built in, and it is, I think it's like what they call a self-igniting generator. So as it spins up, it already produces DC, positive and negative. And the generator is supposed to, by the specs from what I found, I guess rated at about 22 amp. Not quite sure how much that translates into into watts. Probably like 400 watts or so, if I'm not completely off. Anyhow, yeah, so this thing has been working great. It seems to be fairly powerful. And then, of course, depends on how fast this the propeller turns. The voltage can go up, I don't know, maybe 20 volts or something. I haven't really measured it yet, but it definitely goes higher than 12 or 13 volts. I think so far what I've read, could read out on my voltmeter was about 15 and a half volts. So here's my problem. Now, okay, let me set this thing down here real quick. So from what I understand and what I found out, there isn't really a charge controller in a sense of like the traditional charge controllers, like as a solar array. So from what I found out, it works as the charge controller is just working as a switch, what they call a dump load or diversion load mode. So I'm using this Xantrex. Let's see what it is. I got the plate here. It's a C60 charge controller, charge/load controller, 12 volt or 24 volts. Of course, it's set up for 12 volts. And by the Xantrex manual, when you hook up a wind generator, you have to hook it up in diversion load. So what's really happening is there are adjustments. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer on it. There, I don't know how good it shows, but anyway, so those are adjustments where you set the upper and the lower limit. So the upper limit, basically, you set the whatever the battery is required. In my case, I have a lithium bank, so I set it to about 14.6 to 14.8 volt. I mean, it's a little bit tricky, you know. I mean, it just goes up and down so fast because the wind is unpredictable. But anyway, so the idea is that if it goes over 14.6 volt, it basically turns the circuit off and dumps the excess power into the dump load, diversion load. So what I did here, and it came with my boat, this is a simple 12 volt heating element that you actually stick in a in a water heater, hot water heater, which I don't have right now. So I just kind of ghettoed it and tied it off like this, you know, just to have something. And additionally, I put those light bulbs up here. I don't know if it shows. Well, those are 12 volt light bulbs I put in series, so they can handle up to 24 volts. And the reason why I did this, so I can actually see at what point in time this thing diverts the load. So that means if the wind generator spins up. Right now it's pretty windy, so over between yesterday and today it started doing it quite a bit. So I see how the light bulbs all of a sudden start coming on. At that point in time, from what I understand, it doesn't go into the battery bank anymore. It just simply diverts it away from the batteries and dumps all this excess power now into the resistance, which is that heating element, and well, the light bulbs just as an indicator. Okay, so last night we had quite some windy night. I think it was gusting up to like 30 miles an hour. It was really windy. I'm still in my marina here in Hudson, Florida. And so I monitored. I had a good chance to monitor what's really going on, how much this thing really puts out. So this is simply a from Xantrex. It's a display that shows the voltage. I don't know if it's really hard to see if I can get this in focus. Anyways, so shows the voltage on the upper right. Right now it's 13.4, something like that. It fluctuates. So this is, from what I can tell, is what actually the wind generator right now pushes into the battery bank. And then it's like the amp hours and total amp hours, and then there's watts and load current. And those things don't really do anything. And I noticed they only come on, they only show something. Let me see if I can hold that camera actually still. So they only show something if the wind generator switches into, or the controller switches into the dump load, the diversion load. So then you can actually see it's showing some watts, which wasn't all that much. And that's also start counting the amp hours. So what I think is happening here, let me go back here, is I don't really know how many amps this thing produces. Because it really doesn't show the way this thing is set up. And I really just believe this is simply because the whole charge controller only works with the wind generator in this diversion mode. Okay, now here's my my question. And the idea I got is because when I looked at this thing last night, and it was like really spinning up, and it about every 10-15 seconds this thing went in diversion load. And what I thought by myself, here it's right now showing, actually, well, not showing right now, but just the light bulbs just came on. Let me see if I set this a little bit, because it's still pretty windy. And yeah, when those light bulbs come on, that means it starts going into this diversion mode. So what irritates me is every time the generator goes onto like full power mode, that means it spins up really, really fast. All this energy is just wasted. It doesn't go into my battery bank anymore. It just gets diverted into dump load and burns off in heat. It makes no sense. I mean, it's just, it's disgusting. So how do I ever get well, the full power out of my wind generator if every time it goes over a certain voltage, it just dumps it away? And since it constantly goes so fast, I mean, the wind is not consistent. It constantly goes over that threshold, and then, well, like I said, unless there's something you could control, basically the speed of the propeller, which is not possible really, it's all wasted energy. So here's my question to everybody. Why the heck can't that charge controller not completely control that wind generator as it were to do with, let's say, a solar array? According to, from what I read and what I found out, there's the common understanding: the wind generators are too radically, they're the voltage that fluctuates up and down too quickly, and the charge controllers can't handle that. Why can't they handle it? Isn't that what a charge controller should be able to do? What about a car alternator where you go, where you can change the RPM radically? They can handle it. So what's the difference really? So if there's anybody out there who has asked themselves the same question, or even better, is there anybody out there who actually disregarded this whole diversion load setup and just used a wind generator straight onto a charge controller? It doesn't matter really if it's a Xantrex or Victron or whatever, Balmar or whatever, whoever else builds quality charge controllers. So yeah, just what I want to say, did anybody ever just hook it up as they were to hook up a solar panel array? And if so, did it work? I'm not sure what I should do. Maybe I get a wild hair up my ass and just do it just like that and completely disregard the manual from Xantrex and hook up the generator, since it is a DC voltage generator, the wind generator I'm talking about, straight into this charge controller, because the charge controller has a fairly large heatsink on top, so that means it is actually built to handle quite some loads. And then maybe I put just an old battery on the end, so if I cook the battery, it doesn't really matter. And just monitor what it does. So, what is your thoughts on this? If, like I said, I would really appreciate if somebody has played around with those type of setups, has experience with specifically with wind generators, and yeah, could give me any idea. You know, I mean, I would appreciate some real person's input, somebody who has actually done it, rather than just keep reading on the internet and reading the manuals. Because I understand, you know, I mean, they're all printed the same way. If whoever builds a Xantrex or a charge controller, which I'm using here right now, they just simply say, well, use it as diversion mode, and maybe they just don't bother. Maybe they just don't want to even think about what could happen if you hook the wind generator up like like a solar array. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna. This video is already getting too long, I guess. Don't want to make it too boring. So please leave your comments if you have any ideas. If you just want to troll and call me a fucking idiot, well, have about it. For some strange reason, there's always people who like to do that. And maybe lots of you think I'm just a fucking idiot and should just leave it alone. But you know what? I can't. I feel like I could get much more power out of this wind generator. Yeah, like I said, under normal conditions, if it's not all that windy, it probably wouldn't bother me too much, because that thing does need at least, I think, 10 or 15 knots of wind to actually start producing. But like I said, last night and still today, it's fairly windy, and this thing is really spooling up. And let's take a look at it. And last night I actually dared to grab it and put my hand on the generator, and that thing was quite warm, even though it was cold outside. But this thing generated some heat, or warmth at least. So that tells me this thing is producing. I mean, right now that propeller is spinning up. You know, it probably doesn't show on this action camera for some reason. It always appears like the propeller is standing still, but believe me, this thing is spinning so fast I wouldn't dare stick my hand in it. I'd probably lose it. Okay, well, thank you for watching, and please leave a comment if you could help me out. Thank you for watching.